Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk through top to bottom everything that has happened so far. So I'm gonna talk first about the strategic level, what the officers have come up with for over the last week or so. Actually, kind of started doing the dev bench, so we've been working on this for a month or so. I'll start at the strategic level, then go down to the operational level of what me and Red and some of the other officers that were had helped in planning the operation, what we did. And then after that, I'll finally start talking about the mission details itself and the battles that happened. So it's going to be quite long. Yes, this is true. But if you look through the rest of my channel, you'll find that there's quite a few other after action reports that I've done like this. Usually they're much shorter, but considering how badly this sortie went, I have to do the entire operational from the very top to the very bottom because we need to figure out like what we can do moving forward and what went wrong. I'm pretty sure I've identified all the really big things here, so we'll go through it. Okay, so the strategic goals were developed by the officer corps in our little regiment here about a week or two ago. The regiment 4th Naval Division is designed to be a destroyer regiment, all right? But destroyers only come like 2-3 weeks into the war. So in the meantime, gunboats were the weapon of choice that we were going to specialize in. The reason being because unlike a marine regiment or an amphibious assault regiment or a naval logistics regiment, we wanted to specialize in naval superiority. All of our logistics, all of our planning, all of our reconnaissance, it's all designed solely to gain naval superiority. Now, the problem is that this is a completely brand new game at this point. This entire naval theater, all the weapons, they've never been tested in a real live war before until today. So these questions were posed at the very start of the war. It's like, what is naval superiority? How does it look like? And can we measure it? The theory that we had going into the first operation yesterday was that naval superiority should look like, on the map at least, the territory within the Western Island chain should either be green or white. It should either be our territory or neutral. We can't let the Wardens have anything on the map. They shouldn't look blue. The kind of underlying reasoning behind this for the new players here, we don't quite understand why that's the case. Normal foxhole gameplay on the land, that is, before the naval warfare update. That's usually how the wars are fought and won. It's all about territory. It's all about how much of the map you can paint in your own faction's color, and that usually has its own merits because when you're on the land, you need logistics, you need secure supply lines, you need the fortifications, this, that, and the other. It all works quite well on land. The difference is that here in the naval warfare update, it doesn't really matter looking at it from what happened yesterday. It doesn't really matter whether the map is green or blue because the Wardens were able to project their power regardless of what the territory, whether the territory belonged to the enemy or not. There are no real front lines, and there aren't any solid ways to protect our logistics lines unless we run convoy escorts all the time. I hope that kind of makes sense to people that the map itself doesn't really matter anymore because everyone's free to maneuver on the open ocean. Okay, so we go to the operational objectives. So considering what I've described just now, these are the 4 types of missions that we generated that we were going to actively engage in during this war. We're going to do a lot of scouting and reconnaissance. We're going to focus on getting at the observation towers. If the enemy was dumb enough to make facilities like dry docks out in the open in the Western Island chain, we would go in and raid that. And the last point here for the war of attrition around the islands, because we are a naval regiment, not a marine regiment, we wanted to try and stop the Wardens from attacking, basically. Anything that gets put on the ocean, that's a target for us. That was the idea around that. What happened yesterday, however, was considering that the Oarbreaker Isles were taken earlier in the morning, we had pretty much lost all of our territory in the Western Island chain except for Stema Landing. So it looked to us that we needed to go in and do something now, because otherwise it looked like they were going to roll us all the way back, which they are currently in the process of doing. So the operation that was conducted yesterday was just there in the sense to put up some opposition against the Wardens, just try to stop their momentum and then reevaluate the situation from there. So me and the reconnaissance folks, we conducted recon runs 5 hours prior to the operation. We had 2 more recon runs that were conducted 24 hours before that. So just to give a picture of what we had a good idea of where the enemy was, where they were running their logistics routes, and what kind of force they had put out at Stema Landing at this point in time. I personally had went to El Camino Estate and walked around the entire island just to have a look at what the situation was, where the main landing zones were, where the wardens were mounting and preparing their naval forces and how they were projecting it. The logistics guys, they had everything on point and ready at the seaport. I'm very, very happy and very glad that we have a very good logistics division set up and running right now. Everybody a part of the logi guys. I mean, thumbs up to you guys. Thanks a lot. We managed to get the gunboat that I commanded fully equipped and manned in under 10 minutes, which was very impressive considering how normal foxhole operations usually occur. The only real example I can give is like tank regiments, because it's a vehicle-based combat system. Tankers usually take quite a long time to get their tanks in action because they usually have to go around and get this, that, and the other. But our logi was on point at the place where we needed them to be, where we told them that we needed the equipment to be, and that went out quite well. We can start evaluating some of the things in hindsight now. Obviously, considering the amount of equipment that we committed to the operation and the results that we got from it, the objectives that we had for this operation were very, very ambitious. For those that were part of it know that we technically only killed a couple of wardens in exchange for 3 fully loaded gunboats and a logistics barge. But we'll get into the details later on that. Yeah, that's something that needed to be raised there. Okay, so now we'll go into the actual operation itself. So the next few slides are slides from the briefing that I gave at the start of the operation. I added a couple more slides after that for the after action report. We'll just go through what we were doing and how we were going to do it. So the main objectives were base Sagitta and the Wayne here. Following the strategy that we laid out earlier, we wanted to just make it neutral. We weren't going to go in and land and take it, partly because we haven't had much experience in like getting CVs in a combat zone to start doing construction work. And for the most part, that's not part of our mission objectives. So the idea here was to go over to base Sagitta and the Wayne and knock out the relic bases there. That way the wardens won't be able to spawn and they won't be able to project anything. In hindsight, considering how much ammunition, how much time it takes with gunboats to knock these relic bases, this was a lapse in planning on my part and the officers. It didn't go quite according to plan, and I've identified why. I'll explain why that didn't go according to plan. Yeah, here were the mission objectives that I laid out. Was to knock out the relic base and the bunker pieces that were on base Sagitta and Wade. And for the most part, if you were in the operation and were some of the gunners, you would have seen that there wasn't actually much of anything there except for the base itself. This was the picture that I got when I conducted the reconnaissance earlier that day as well. So in my mind, it was an easy target because there was no active defenses. There aren't any shipyards or seaports on these islands. They're very small. And we had the range with the mortar cannons to go knock them out. That was my thought process on that. The second objective here was the naval superiority part. Anything blue that was on the ocean, anything warden, we were going to go out, search and destroy. That didn't quite go according to plan either, because yes, we will get to the details as to why that afterwards. The secondary objective doesn't really matter. We never got even close to fulfilling the first two, let alone the secondary, so we won't talk about that. This is a slide from the equipment that I wanted. It's a little bit outdated. We decided not to go with any shrapnel rounds, stack up on the HE, which we needed to knock out the relic base. Equipment-wise, things worked out quite well. The radio backpack was the most important thing that I wanted to try in terms of the equipment here. It was necessary because when you're out in the open ocean, it's very hard to use the map intel to find out where all the friendly forces are, because watchtowers have limited range. They can only project from shorelines. And the observation towers, at this point in time in that territory, we didn't have any that could help us in terms of helping friendly forces identify themselves and maneuver. So I had all the gunboat captains carry radio backpacks, and that way when I opened up the map, I could tell where all my guys were at any one time, which was quite helpful. But it in the end, it didn't really help with the engagement, but it wasn't supposed to, so there's that. But I just like to bring that up. This was the strategy that I outlined. I just wanted to keep everybody close together to provide mutual support. The rally point here helped out a little bit. I'll get into details on that later on, but this was set up about 2 hours prior to the operation. And it was just there to, in the event that we were successful, that we needed to resupply, I didn't want to take us all back into ash fields. So instead, we could resupply in the hex that we were without having to jump the border. But that didn't happen, so there's that. So these were the threats that I laid out prior to the operation, and trying to make sure everybody understood what it was that we were going up against. We did understand that the Warden gunboats had higher top speed, and in terms on paper they have similar armament, but this is not entirely true. The fact that they have a 360-degree turret, and the fact that they have a cabin and the front gunner is partially covered, they do have a significant firepower advantage compared to us, because all of our guys are out open on a deck with no cover, and the front mortar cannon can only shoot in like a 270-degree arc. It can't shoot back behind the gunboat, that is. The barges, for those that were on the dev branch, we had tested the barge versus the gunboat, so we knew that we had the speed advantage on the barge. We just didn't have the maneuverability, and we had never tested a one-on-one engagement between the gunboat and the barge. In my mind, I figured that even in a turn, considering that we still could point the forward cannon slightly behind, we should have been able to engage the barge. But I've got a clip later on here which shows an actual engagement between the gunboat and the barge, and you can see how much of a disadvantage in terms of maneuverability we're at. This one is just okay. The comm system here. We'll discuss that, but it's not okay. So here are the numbers for the mortar rounds in terms of damage for all the targets that we were going to engage or were likely to engage. Some of these are slightly outdated. I am pretty sure this one here is a little bit inaccurate. This one definitely is inaccurate. One of the criticisms that was brought up after the operation was hitting the relic base with our gunboats. We should have kept one gunboat on standby on overwatch to cover our flanks while 2 gunboats started shelling the relic base. Now, in my mind, as I was planning it, it looked to me on paper that we were fine in this department. We had the numbers in terms of the shells, and we had enough batteries, in this case 3 mortar cannons firing all at once, that it shouldn't have taken that long. But trying to maneuver the gunboats into position offshore and then get the shells on target, it just took too long. And 80 rounds, it still takes quite a long time to get 80 rounds out on target, even with 3 guns firing. On paper, I thought it would work, but now looking back at it, the reality is these weapons are really weak, especially against any kind of a fortified entrenchment. Under ideal circumstances, we should have been able to knock it out in a few minutes, but in combat conditions, it looks to me not possible, really. I will not attempt to try a shore bombardment just solely with gunboats ever again. I don't see the reason or the point. Having us set up the battery offshore just made us a target. And once the wardens had found out where we were and they engaged us, it was pretty much over at that point. But yeah, that's something that I like all the officers, if you're going to conduct operations moving forward, especially with gunboats, you keep that in mind. Okay, so now we'll get into the step-by-step basis of what happened in that 1 hour of the operation. In terms of preparation, some of the folks decided that it would be better to get the gunboats from the seaport to the new facility that was set up downriver. And I didn't understand why that was a good idea. And as we found out later, it wasn't a good idea. The reason why we have everything centralized at the seaport is because we can get everything from the seaport, put it into the safe house that's just across the road, and then use trucks or jeeps to get the weapons and equipment that we need straight into the gunboats. And having two staging points doesn't make much sense because at the end of the day, I still need to get everybody together at the same point to project to conduct the operation. Because we still need to get from the back lines to the front lines, and I don't want to deploy on the front lines with having people all over the place. I like everybody in certain positions ready to go once we cross the border into combat zone. So moving forward, please, if you're going to conduct a multi-ship operation, there's no reason to have separate staging grounds. Just have it all in one spot where we already have everything set up, and then do it from there. The crew assignment did take a lot longer than expected. This is probably because we had the majority of the group were new players. New players not to the naval warfare, but just new players in general. And we'll get to some of the examples of what happened there as well. But yeah, the problem with the crew assignments that we came up with was with the communications part here. I decided to adopt a plan that we had that Steele had proposed and we had all agreed upon. There's actually a really nice diagram that's further up in the mess hall chat that Steele put together. The idea was that when we're conducting multi-ship crew operations, or even if we are doing a large ship operation, we wanted to compartmentalize all the different crews into their own separate channels so that they don't clog up the comms. And what I decided to implement here was the original idea of having all the command chat on a Discord and having the crews in their own separate Discord, but have the captains and the crews use the in-game squad chat to communicate. In theory, that looks like a good way that we could cut down the clutter in communications. But what we found out was once we crossed into a hex where there was a lot of people, high population hex, where there was a lot of action, the comm system just broke down, and half the people couldn't talk or hear anybody. Now we did manage to switch on the fly to have all the crew members together in the Discord, and then the crew captains use the in-game chat as the command channel, because that way at least we had ships that were able to operate. At least the captain could talk to his crew, and at least we had a tactical asset that could operate. Whether he could operate with the rest of the squadron, as far as I'm concerned, it's better to have something working than nothing working at all. So we switched to that, and after we got the comms back online, it started working out a little bit better. It wasn't as good as the system we had before as we were crossing the back line, but if it doesn't work, then it's useless. So this did cause a lot of problems once we crossed into the hex. We spent a good 5 minutes just trying to get everybody back online, which we got lucky in the sense that we didn't get jumped by wardens at this point in time, because if we did, we probably have been wiped out again, similar to the way that we did once we started shelling the relic base. But yeah, that's for another time, another scenario. Okay, I already covered the shore bombardment and the things that didn't go too well there. This part here was a big one. We misjudged the range on the relic base and our mortar cannons. We got up right next to the shore. I actually couldn't see the shore or the watchtower that was right in front of us. I completely missed that when I was looking through the binos. That's a mistake on my part there. And I didn't realize that we were so close that wardens that had just spawned in on the relic base were immediately able to open up on us with small arms. That was pretty big overlaps there. Okay, now we get into the details of like the actual tactical engagement here. So whilst we were trying to back off from the shore, we got jumped by a gunboat that came in from the south. Now, that is partly my fault because I had asked K4 to keep a lookout to the north. Wedge was designated a fire control officer because he was in the middle and he's a very capable artillery officer. So I was going to let him direct the guns. And it was my job to keep a lookout to the west and the south. Problem was that once we started taking fire and we had to back off, my attention was to the squadron and how we were backing off and how we were going to reset. I was trying to get everybody together to get onto with Wedge. And it's at this point when we were backing off and we were getting shot by the guys on shore that the warning gunboat came in from the west, southwest, and then flanked us from the south and got in behind us. So I was not looking out for that, and I didn't see that coming. In terms of the actual engagement here, the 3 points here are pretty much self-explanatory. I have a clip of the actual combat, so I'll just commentate over the clip. This one we'll talk about later, but yeah, we'll just watch the first clip here.
Range. You can go 20 meters further.
Yeah, you call it as you see it, Wedge. Set up where you want. We'll converge on you.
There's a gunboat. There's a gunboat. There's a boat. I'm dead.
Give the.
Engage
I'm
gunboat.
dead.
All right, everyone.
I need medic.
Everyone line up. Oh shit.
Red, keep us here. Keep us behind him.
Passenger is encumbered.
Okay, talk.
Drop. Okay, so 2 main points here. First of all, Mott here did a very good job. We got like 5-6 direct hits on this gunboat right here, and considering how the testing on the dev bench went, this guy is almost dead. I mean, he's a couple of shots from being disabled, and a couple more shots after that of being totally destroyed. As I said before, we were backing off, and I was looking at where everybody was, trying to get everybody back offshore, out of range of the shore guys, to reset the battery. I was not looking to the south. That's where the guy came in and jumped us. Now, in the briefing, I did point out what I wanted to do, what the operational procedure was for the medics, right? The problem was that I didn't explain it in depth enough because half my crew right here are not just brand new rookies, they're brand new rookies to the entire game. So they don't quite understand. And for everybody who's watching this video right now, I'm going to explain to you the differences in how the medic gameplay works. In the briefing, I said that we are only going to have first aid kits and bandages, right, to heal people. There's a different equipment called a trauma kit and plasma. Now, the first aid kit is used to heal characters, right? That's to get the character's health back up to full. The trauma kit is what you use to revive down players. These are 2 different pieces of equipment. Now, the reason why I said only to have the first aid kits and only to heal people was because on a gunboat, you cannot be encumbered. If a player is encumbered on a gunboat, the gunboat will cease to move. The helmsman stops having control over it. You also cannot drop items on a gunboat. If you do that, it also stops the gunboat from operating. This is just the game mechanics of how it has been implemented. Don't ask me why. The devs thought it was a good idea. It really isn't. So the moment that my medic here picks up the down crew member, he becomes encumbered because he's carrying what the game considers to be a heavy item, and he puts him over his shoulder. So that immediately makes my gunboat immovable. We cannot maneuver at this point in time. And as I've said, you can't even drop items on the gunboat, otherwise this comes into effect. So I should have explained that in more detail in the briefing. that is a mistake on my part. I accept responsibility on that. But just to make sure that everybody else now understands, when you're operating on gunboats, if a guy goes down, he's done for. I'm sorry, we are not gonna jeopardize the rest of the crew and the gunboat itself just to try get this one extra guy back up and running. It's you know, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So that's what's going on here, and yeah, I'll continue to clip. Drop him. If he's dead, he's dead. We'll pick him up at the rally point. Alex, you need to drop in. Drop in.
Push the boat.
He's dead.
We
He's
need to
dead.
get closer.
Any weapon. Pull any weapon. Pull your pull anything. 1, 2, 3. Press 1 or 2 or 3.
So another mistake I make is that I didn't check if I was bleeding myself. So I bleed out to death right here, and well, yeah, that just happened. I read here is has been my second in command for a full year. I mean, that's a full year real time here in foxhole operations. So I'm gonna give command over to him and let him make a command decision here. But yeah, one thing I like to tell all the officers is that do not become an armchair general, right? I know that sounds a little bit weird considering we're playing a computer game, but to explain what an armchair general is in a computer game is that if you're not on the scene, right? If you are not capable of making any tactical or operational decision, then don't make any decisions, don't make any calls, okay? Just let the guys who are on site in the battle decide for themselves. Because I've seen it many times in many battles in this game where people up in higher command are not even in the game, not even logged on. They're just watching streams on Discord and they're trying to give commands. Do not do that under any circumstances. Even if the guys in the battle don't know what they're doing, it's better than you trying to interfere. It's better to let them learn and figure it out so that they get experience, so that the next time we go into combat, they'll know better. Otherwise, if you just keep on interfering, the next time this happens, they'll just be looking towards the commander to say, "What do I do? What's going on?" That's a point I like to raise here for anybody who's interested in command or leadership in this game. I'll continue the clip here.
Okay,
I'm down.
Southwest to Red's ship. He's gonna
Red,
need to
take over.
Come on, are we gonna assist or are we gonna hold back? What are we doing?
We're
Bit
going
both.
back to the rally point, I suggest.
What, are we gonna leave our friends?
Yes.
Okay,
No, why?
Wedge, we're
There's
retreating.
another gunboat. There's another gunboat. There's another.
shit,
Didn't we have a first aid kit? Could I have not been revived?
No,
We're heading
don't.
to Alchemy Estate.
Rebel, are we retreating or what's happening? I don't get it.
Yeah, because you can't
Is
fight
that
with just the two
complete
guys.
Are we dead?
Okay, so that decision right there that Red makes probably maybe controversial to most of the folks here. But funnily enough, this is not the first time that I've seen someone make such a decision. In fact, I've made on 2 occasions a similar decision like that where we had to leave people behind. In this case, I fully support Red's decision to just go back to the rally point. And in hindsight, I think most people would agree now, considering how the battle ended up going, that this was the better decision of the two. The reasoning behind it is simple. The moment Red goes down, right, that's it. This gunboat is gone. At this point, we've only taken 1 mortar shell. So we're pretty good health, pretty good armor. We're all right. It's just the crew has been completely wiped out for the most part. Mott here has already got 6, I think maybe 7 direct hits on that enemy gunboat that jumped us, all right? In terms of like trading hit points, we've got our money's worth out of this deployment of the gunboat, in my mind. We've taken 1 hit in return and we've dealt out 7. I don't see why we should risk the gunboat and losing it now when we've already got a good trade-off. Of course, the other factor we need to take into account is that we have the rest of the squadron that's out there that's getting shot up. As far as I can see, from my point of view, it's a 1-on-3. So in my mind, we've already gotten that gunboat almost dead. I was expecting Wedge and K4 to have been able to mop him up. But the way that it turned out was that I don't think we even got to be able to destroy that gunboat. And a second Warden gunboat came out from, I assume, the north. I didn't get the full picture on that. But yeah. And considering that it was a 2-on-2 engagement after Red had taken our gunboat out, and one of them was half dead, and we still lost. Yeah, I fully still support the decision here to go back to the rally point on this gunboat here. I can't speak to the actual engagement that occurred with Wedge and K4. That's up to them to put in their report if they want to. But yeah, that's all I have to say for this first engagement here.
The range.
Okay, hang on. Let me go back a couple slides. Okay, so yeah, this pretty much described the first 2 points here. Okay, now we get to the second battle that occurred. This is concerning barges, and yeah, you know what? I'll just run the clip because pretty much self-explanatory. What's that? Reddit?
That sucks.
What's the barge to the right?
Yeah, what's this barge doing?
I know. Didn't have any friendly sign.
So I get completely caught off guard here. What has happened is that there were 3 warden barges that were set up south of Alchemil Estate at the border. And in my mind, considering how Red had entered Alchemil Estate, I thought it was clear because they didn't intercept him there. But these guys were very smart. They waited until we were fully loaded and prepped until we came out and then jumped us. So we were a better target for them in that case. But yeah, we get jumped by 3 guys from behind, from the rear, because they were camping at the border to the south.
Signs on it.
It's a warden barge. Maybe
Hard right, rudder, gunner, turn right.
Gunner.
Hellas, fire.
Fire at the gunboat?
I got
Not
it.
the gunboat.
You have
At
to
the
turn
barge?
or I can't shoot it yet.
Another warden
Oh.
gunboat barge. Contact 269, range 40.
I will aim at that
Forward,
one instead.
Red, just keep going forward. Okay, so I like to point out in that turn earlier that you saw here, right here. Hellas, fire.
Fire at the gunboat?
I got
Not
it.
the gunboat.
You have
at
to
the
turn
barge?
or I can't shoot it yet.
Another warden
Oh.
gunboat barge. So right there, the way that the movement mechanics work for vehicles in this game, once you start a turn, you no longer can keep up your top speed, right? It's capped off at a reduce because you're turning, and our gunboat is faster than the barge, but the barge has far superior acceleration. All right, and the barge is also maneuverable. So when they start doing a turn, they don't lose that much of a disadvantage in speed in terms of top speed. So what happens here is that what you saw there was the gunboat turning at its maximum turn rate. Okay? And what the barge did here was very smart. He didn't try to match us turn for turn. He kept himself right in our dead zone. And because we were turning and he has more maneuverability and faster acceleration, he could actually keep himself in our dead zone, and there was nothing we could do. The front mortar cannon can't turn all the way back like a 360. It's only like a 270, 260 degree arc. So there's a cone that's right behind him that he can't hit anything. And my right side gunner, the arc on the guns, the tripod guns are also not that big. It's a quite limited cone, so he can't actually get any shots on the barge itself, particularly the conning tower here, that thing where the guy is in. He can't even hit that. He can only hit the side of the front of the ramp. So yeah, this is one-on-one gunboat versus barge. If we get into a dogfight like this, once they get behind, if they know what they're doing, there's nothing much you can do. Later on in this fight, I tell the guys, because I asked everyone to get a sticky grenade on them as well. Once they get behind us and close, we start lobbing sticky grenades and firing our small arms. But it didn't quite work out either. But at least we had something. You know, we had that contingency that actually worked. So I'm a little bit happy about that. Okay, let me continue the clip. Contact 269, range 40.
I will aim at that
Forward,
one instead.
Red, just keep going forward.
I cannot.
So at this point here, I'm just I know the only advantage we have is our speed. We have the fastest top speed. We've been caught out by three barges here. Seeing how the turn rate on the gunboat had occurred just there, I'm making the decision to just book it out of here because we can't maneuver with these guys, and I can't get any of my gunners on target. Get off the gun and use
Hold on.
your small arm.
I got sticky.
Adjust course to 125.
Do you want me to shoot the cannon when I get the opportunity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got it yet, but
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Hang on.
Could I get a ping on map so I can?
So as you can see here, we are gaining distance. He can't catch up with this in a straight line. That is. Once we stop turning, once I gave Red a course heading, a bearing, and we stopped turning. We're running. We're out of here, and there's nothing much that they can do about it.
We're in front of you guys again.
Oh, hang on. Okay, Red, make your
Barge
course bearing. Okay, contact barge bearing 46 gunner. Target bearing 46. Red, adjust course left rudder. Still rudder. Okay, so right here, I was very happy once this was occurring because on the Colonial gunboat, there's only 2 areas where you can get 2 of your weapon systems on a single target, and that's to the front and to the side. So off this side here and this other side here, you can get 2 weapons on anyone on a target basically. So having this barge come across at that angle right there, and considering that we've already been traveling in a straight line, we've reached our top speed. I'm looking to get this engagement here and start firing on this barge. And yeah, I'll let the clip play. Gunner, contact 28. Okay, hard right rudder. Good hit. Right. So let me just replay that clip right there. Hang on, so that everybody understands. So what happened there is that I'm pretty sure we lagged out. I didn't understand why we were slowing down because I hadn't told Red to do anything, but it wasn't his fault. We lagged out, and once we lagged out, basically the game stops the boat for partially, which means that everybody got a chance to catch up with this. These guys got the opportunity to get in across in front of us, and the guys behind us are right on our tail. They're gaining on us now. That's just unfortunate, you know. It's just the way the servers are. But right here, I'm pretty happy because I've got my left side machine gunner firing solution on the barge. It's a lot of infantry targets. Tugboat, as you see here, is going to empty like half a magazine into them. And Mott here gets one really good shot right on the barge. But I'll just play it again, and we can see what I'd like to, the point I'd like to raise here. Good hit. So as you can see there, that mortar hit, even though it was right on top of them, did absolutely no damage to anybody on the barge. And all the 50 cal rounds that Tugboat had emptied onto the side, half of them just bounced off the side of the rail, and the other half just flew over them. But for those who don't quite understand how the combat mechanics work in Foxhole, there isn't any ballistics in the game, if that makes sense. It's a hit scan registry kind of system. So when you fire something, all the animations that you see here or the sounds, they don't actually exist. The server just has a timer that registers at this point that you clicked that damage will be dealt in this area, and anything that's there gets hit. At least that's the way it was explained to me. And I think it makes sense considering how this went down. The machine gunner was completely ineffective because of this rail that the barge has. So whilst the infantry character is in cover, it's basically a hit chance. It's basically randomized as to whether they get hit or not. And if they're behind a cover like this, the chance of getting hit is reduced significantly. So even though you have line of sight, and even though they are standing up, there's a chance that you hit them. It's not 100% that you're going to hit the infantry and deal damage to them. And as for the mortar shell, which we saw the animation hit right behind the rail on top of the guys, because there's no ballistics, the way that the game calculates it is that because we were firing from this position over the rail takes all the damage basically, and nobody got hurt. The barge definitely took damage. I'm pretty sure, but as we saw earlier in the earlier slides, I'm pretty sure the numbers are inaccurate, but the barge is pretty hefty. It's got a lot of health, and yeah, I'll just finish off the clip here.
Are
we disabled?
fucked.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the end of that. So, this one came up because, for those who don't know, when I started playing the game, I was just a logi guy. That's all I did for the first full war. I was nothing but logistics and facility. That's all I did. So every time that we take losses, I hold it close to my heart because I understand what the amount of work and suffering that goes into making these things is the reason why I am where I am right now, running intelligence and reconnaissance. Is because I didn't want people to like waste their hard work for something where everything terribly goes wrong. For the most part, I like to tell everybody that on the land side, the regiment that I ran, we did manage to figure out how we could effectively conduct operations while getting things done and everybody having fun, but that didn't carry over here because it was a complete miscalculation on my part and the officers' part. We didn't think that it was gonna go like this. On paper, it looked like everything was okay and all right, but evidently, most of our tactical assets are pretty weak and can't be used in the way that we thought they could be used. But yeah, in terms of cost, this operation was not worth it. I will admit that. That is a very big oversight on my part. Not going to make that mistake again. It was not worth it at all. Okay, so I just put this here as the last two slides. These are the good things that I could point out from this tragedy. The forward rally point did do his job. Once I died and my crew had died and Red had got the gunboat back, we were able to get the gunboat back out immediately in like under 5 minutes. So in terms of like cohesion, tactical unit cohesion, we actually had something that was able to reorganize itself and get back into combat. Of course, we got absolutely murdered in another 5 minutes, but I think it's a strategy that we should keep in mind and use moving forward. Combat experience and the operational experience, it's it's pretty important. Everybody learned. I definitely learned a lot. So for moving forward, the officers are already in a lot of discussion. We had a 3-hour-long discussion last night after the operation, and we're going to have several more meetings moving forward. We're going to have to reevaluate the entire thing from the top down, because I don't see how our naval strategy is working out per se and how it relates to the operational part. We also have to reevaluate all of our tactical assets, because from my point of view, the gunboats don't seem to be very effective at pretty much anything except supporting a amphibious assault. K4 brought it up that he went over to the landing zone in Alchemio Estate and he saw the Warden gunboats being effective there. Essentially, they're just a mobile battery that supports the infantry, and they just shoot infantry. The Wardens haven't attempted anything that we tried to do, where we actively try to attack bases on the islands or anything like that, or engage other naval forces. Most of the naval engagements always go in favor of the barges, at least the way I've seen it. I posted a Reddit post last night of Warden gunboat operations, and in that one, they got killed by a barge. The biggest threat to them most of the time was sticky barges as well. So that's the kind of meta that I'm seeing here. But I will still be looking and reevaluating all of that. So if anybody has anything that they would like to raise or have any ideas of how we want to move forward, you can just go ahead and put it in the chat and just ping me, the officers, and the commander, and